the first of a regular series on Almond TV profiling Macau's key players in the hospitality and entertainment industry, we sit down with Frank McFadden. A professional rugby player in his youth, McFadden has worked on gaming projects in Europe, the Middle East and Asia. He's now driving the development of new business for Macau's former monopoly gaming operator, SJM, owned by Dr. Stanley Ho, which is about to launch an IPO on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange.
We're here with Frank McFadden, President for New Ventures of SJM, the former monopoly operator in Macau. Frank has very kindly agreed to interview with us today to talk a bit more about himself, his background in Macau and SJM, where he thinks the company is going and what we're doing here. And I guess I'd like to start off by asking just how it was that Stanley Ho convinced you to come and join SJM in the first place.
He asked me. You know, it's as simple as that. I've known him for a couple of years. We had a very good relationship. He recognized that the company needed to change. The catalyst is always an outside element that comes in order to allow that change to be accelerated. And he asked me to join. I think he trusted me. He trusted my judgment. He trusted my ability to integrate, yet not accept the environment around me. So, I was delighted to come and join him.
What attracted you to the job? What was the vision, or what was
clearly the challenge? You know, clearly the challenge is of actually taking this company from where it was going, which was, suffering in terms of the liberalisation of the market, and actually making it a competitor and actually someone to be feared in the market and to compete at the highest level. And it's probably one of the greatest challenges that this company will have to face ever, would be the next 5 years.
Can you tell us a bit more about Dr. Ho's sort of vision, though, for SJM, and where you think that he would like, and certainly you are working on taking the company in the next few years?
There's no doubt that he wants to actually be the most important operator in Macau. He wants to be able to demonstrate that Chinese companies can compete at the highest level with multinationals from outside in a very liberalised market and on a level playing field. So he really has certainly he has certain emotion towards Macau, and he's an emotion towards China and the Chinese culture. As you know, he's very famous in supporting Chinese culture. And he clearly feels that, and is determined, that SJM can and will be able to compete with the best operators around the world.
Obviously, with you've got a lot of changes still in the pipeline, and you're looking at other projects around town and things. Yeah. You're not just Grandler's Bow, obviously. You're doing all the new ventures.
All the new ventures, right? Yeah. Well, I think the market has demonstrated that whenever you bring new product on, it actually acts as a catalyst for the growth of the market. And the only way you're going to be able to compete is to actually compete architecturally, product-wise and service-wise against everything else that's not only here at the moment, but is coming onto the market. And, we've got a lot of old properties, and just because people don't buy Skodas or Trabants doesn't mean that there isn't a market for cars. They just want BMWs and they want Mercedes. You have to give them BMWs and Mercedes. And with the lead times, it's going to take a little while for us to get into our production lines working so we can fire them out. But we're working now, but you don't see any material results other than here at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just, thinking bigger picture here, what's going on in Macau, and sort of looking out a few years. I mean, I know you're obviously still quite bullish on the Macau market as a whole. How do you see the changes coming in the next few years for the whole gaming community here?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be like any other. I mean, it's still not reached its maturity, which makes it fun. So you're going out and you're building and you're hiring people rather than trying to cut costs and firing people. Right. And I can see that happening for the next 5 or 6 years. And it'll be like every other market. You'll get growth. Oh, we've oversupplied, trough a little bit, everyone panics, slow down, then you grow again, then it comes down again, then you grow again, it comes down. It's going to go but ultimately it'll go like this. It's whether the big decision making is it going like this, or is it going like this, or is it going like this? But at least we know it's going to go up. And a lot of that will have to do with what's coming on when. So and what makes it very dynamic now is that you're going to have to be very tactical in your investments. And a lot of the stuff is going to become obsolete very quickly because of the accelerated development of this market. And you just can't, you have to plan to be competitive in 10 years' time, you know, and therefore you have to think ahead and you have to really look at quality.
Yeah, even we've noticed in the last few months how much more competitive the marketing programs are around town now. I mean, everybody's got very fresh, very new marketing programs getting rolled out, just promotions and things like it all the time now, because there has to be that much more of a public profile. Huh?
Well, apart from us, I think all the other companies are listed. So they have to post quarterly results, you know, and therefore they have to deliver every quarter or else work really hard at working out the reasons of force majeure why they didn't deliver last quarter. Right. So there's a lot of intensity in the market, which is interesting in itself because someone's going to slip up somewhere, you know, and the consequences of that, I have no idea. I just don't want to be the first one to slip up.
Well, it's going to happen to you soon, isn't it?
It'll happen soon enough. It'll happen soon enough. It happens to everyone soon enough. So
right. You've had quite a lot of transparency in place already, though, with the analysts. I mean, you've been spending a lot of time working with the analysts and getting things ready for that IPO in any case. Right? We also know that as soon as, you know, the installation of corporate governance is not new here. What it does is once it becomes under the public microscope, it accelerates that. You know, any sort of, you know, related transaction costs, you know, they will all be swept away. And actually the culture of actually saying, well, you know, we're doing okay, we'll go, because everyone will want to do better, because they'll be able to be measured directly against the competitors. Now, they'll have been in the gym for a couple of years before us, so it may take us a little while to get used to it, you know, because it'll be like us just entering the gym for the first time, you know. Have to put down those Guinnesses for a
we'll
while.
have to drop the Guinnesses and start working a bit harder. Okay. So, but that's the way it is, you know. And I think it's going to be very good for SJM. Mm-hmm. And also for the shareholders, I think the shareholders will suddenly find that, you know, they're able to be measured and measure the performance of the management.
Okay. Who do you see the big tussle being between? You know, I mean, was that just putting it too simplistically?
Yeah, look, I think there are a number of. I think ultimately a Cotai Strip will work, but there's as much equity going to come into the Macau Peninsula, and I think they're different markets.
I've definitely seen different markets.
Seen different markets, and therefore there's a certain symbiotic nature to it, because some people want to go shopping or want to go and see a show, and other people will want to go and see the edgy side of town and where the parties are. So they'll play a little bit off each other. Now, we're more gambling orientated because that's where our background is and that's our history. We're not into large theatres. We're not into major exhibitions. It's not our core business, and it's not our core knowledge and experience. So we have to really focus on what we're good at, and then sort of almost piggyback when we go to Cotai on other people's equity, so we can just focus on the higher yielding equity. And also, of course, the development of the Macau district. You know, the Grand Lisboa, the Lisboa, is one of the top 20 recognizable brands in China. You can't market in China.
Right, that's right.
Everyone's got to go and see the Lisboa, so what we have to do is make sure there's a product there that they can go, that stacks up well against all the new equity that's being built up around it.
Can you talk at all about the other properties that are in the pipeline? Or
not too much. The only thing that's really in the public domain, I think, is the redevelopment of the Lisboa itself. And that's going to be if One Central and is the heart of Macau, then the Lisboa is the soul of Macau. So we have to be very careful, because there's also a lot of empathy with the building. So we've got an international architectural competition going. So we've got 2 from Europe, 2 from the States, 3 currently signed up from China and Hong Kong. We'll get another one. And then when their preliminary work is done, we're going to actually have an exhibition so the public can go and have a look at it. We want the Lisboa to be at the place where people have to go and visit, you know, and to maintain its mystique, but also to be something that is efficient, you know, that looks great, that stands up against all the great stuff coming up onto this. Because the whole of around the lake is going to be developed as residential or as conferencing or as whatever. So all that's going to be developed. So you have to be ahead of, also whatever you're building has to be ahead, because all this other stuff will be coming up as well. So.
I mean, obviously Stanley Ho's name as well is just so closely linked to the Lisboa, and the fact is that you probably have had to spend a lot less on advertising in recent years because of that name. You know. Do you see that evolving though as you build out more of these other properties? Will Dr. Ho still be very much the figurehead, or you think he'd be developing more of a corporate image?
He hasn't given me any indication that he intends to retire. And, you know, this is a man who has got tremendous charisma. And so there's no issue. And all the analysts say, well, what happens when Stanley retires? You know, well, the management obviously is independent from the shareholders. We report to the shareholders. We'll be fired by the shareholders. We'll be hired by the shareholders.
Right.
But our job is to run the day-to-day business. This is a man who's got so many different interests that he really is the figurehead, and he is the value system.
Right.
But our job is basically to get on and do the business. But he's the guy who keeps touching the rudder.
Right.
So,